Eastern, it'll be the Florida Gators battling the Auburn Tigers. Following that, the Houston Cougars square off with the Duke Blue Devils. The women's Final Four is set. That'll be this Friday in Tampa, Florida. Two teams that finished atop the SEC will battle as South Carolina squares off with Texas. In the other game, UConn will battle UCLA. The Longhorns punched their ticket to the Final Four with a 58-47 win over TCU last night, while UConn bested USC 78-64. Atlanta Braves outfielder Jurickson Profar has been suspended for 80 games following a positive test for a banned substance. Profar ineligible for the postseason if the Braves make it. Bundle auto and home, renters, or condo and save with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Get the SportsGrid mobile app and get gaming strategies and information faster than you can say, "No, honey, I know how to gamble," when your wife asks for $10 to get a scratcher. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
The only place in football where the offense is always on the field is on Moneyline. With the 2 best hosts in radio, Donnie Rightside.
If anybody wasn't watching, let's not know what you were doing.
And Kevin Walsh.
Forget act like you've been there before.
On the SportsGrid Radio Network, SiriusXM Channel 159.
Oh, rocking and rolling, the best every day now officially underway. Right here on the SportsGrid Network, SiriusXM Channel 159. It's Moneyline. It's your boy Donnie Rightside here on a solo mission today on a Tuesday, and a lot of hot topics to get to. Major League Baseball was very profitable yesterday. We'll take a look at the card today as it pertains to some of the wagers that I like and some of the wagers that have been hitting. Hint, hint. 1 hit, 1 run, 1 RBI market. Fantastic yesterday. It was sensational overall. 5-1 in that market. Posted 2 earlier after they ended. I'm like, oh, you know what? I forgot to put these out. I put a 4-pack together for last night, send it out to the people. 3-1 overall. If you followed along, congratulations. It's a lot of fun, specifically when you're cashing in those bets, and they're fun to root on. We'll get to that in just a little bit more. We also will take a look at some of the lines here for the Final Four for this weekend. If they moved it all overnight, initial thoughts, Janai Broom's injury, how that impacts the equation here. Just got done talking on the early line to Coach James Young about some of his thoughts here as we go. Aaron there in the chat box. We are here. Yes, we are ready to have some fun, which leads me into the best ways to watch and listen to this program, just like every other show here on the SportsGrid Network. The SportsGrid app, one of the best in the business. And you know what the cool part about that app is? Yes, you get all the updated information and insights that you need, but more importantly, you can follow your favorite sports hosts on there to make sure you get their daily information directly. Make sure you check out the SportsGrid app wherever apps are available. SportsGridRadio.com. Another way to listen, SiriusXM channel, which we are on 159. Another way to listen as well. And also on our YouTube channel, SportsGrid On Demand. Every day that channel is growing. If you haven't found it yet, go to YouTube, SportsGrid On Demand, hit the subscribe button. So when we go live on the air on radio shows, just like Moneyline with your boy Donnie Rightside on a solo mission, you can come in, say hello, have some fun. I always have at least one of my monitors on the screen up on the YouTube channel just to sort of monitor what's going on there, as well as what's going on in the Twitter sphere, which today we can't get enough of. The owners' meetings today in the NFL. Now, are they in Florida? I don't even know where they're at this year. I saw Mike Tomlin sweating up a storm, so obviously somewhere with some nice weather at that point. But I don't want to talk about Mike Tomlin saying he's perfectly okay with not having his quarterback situation figured out, and Aaron Rodgers, who might not want to actually be a Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback. We're okay with the New York Giants saying, We're not going to be forced into taking a quarterback, number 3 overall. I don't care about that. The rule changes that come from the owners' meeting sometimes make me angry and sometimes make me a little bit happy. One of the more insignificant ones, I guess, is expanded replay access, which I'm okay with, which if there's a bad penalty that was called, maybe you can overturn that. And the replay access that you get for the expedited ones, which I think are the best, where, hey, look, we don't have to go to a commercial break to realize the spot was 2 yards short. Just place the football down and let's just keep it moving here. The interesting one today that came into play, which was actually voted on and changed, was the kickoff rule in the NFL. A couple years ago, no dynamic kickoff. We saw it for the first time this year. How would they react? Talking about the teams and the coaches and the strategy involved. So initially you thought like, well, man, nobody's going to just kick touchbacks because you get the ball at the 30-yard line as opposed to what it used to be at like the 20 and the 25 in previous years. There's going to be a lot of returns. Now, there were more returns than the year before, about 35% or so this year. And I did think the kickoff rule made some sense. But still, you even saw from opening day, teams are just blasting the football out of the back of the end zone. I like points. I like excitement. I like plays that are meaningful. And the kickoff in the NFL has certainly not been a meaningful one, it feels like, in decades at this point. So for me, the changing last year I thought was really good. Secondarily now, they voted on it again to tweak some of the rule changes. What they're doing now, still same dynamic kickoff, which I agree should be the official kickoff in football. They're never going back to the old days where you can line up 4 and 5 guys holding arm's length and running out there and blasting as a wedge and wedge breakers. We're never getting back to that. It's just not the way football is going to be in the future. They're trying to actually take precautions as opposed to getting concussions at this point. But I do like this. If you kick the ball repeatedly just out of the back of the end zone, it no longer gets started at the 30-yard line. It goes to the 35. That's a big deal. You don't want to be penalized for that. So what the NFL is anticipating now, and again, talking to coaches and running analytics and what the probabilities will be on the touchbacks, going from a 35% or so return rate up to possibly 60 or 70%, which adds more of a fun element to football and not just a ceremonial play where here's the opening kickoff and that one's out of the back of the end zone. That's not fun. There's no meaning for that. So either you were taking that play out completely or you're just going to place the ball at the 35-yard line. At least in the NFL now, we have that special teams play, and it should be more impressive as the years go by because more times that you can return the football out of the end zone or at the 5-yard line, that means we're going to be able to get that football closer to midfield, which means possibly more scoring, and fun kickoffs are back in business, like when 20 years ago you're watching Devin Hester out there absolutely rip off kickoff return after kickoff return after kickoff return. But at some point it turned out, good, like, do yourself a favor, which I love YouTube. It's a fantastic tool, not just to watch the SportsGrid Network and have some fun. You see Go Fast Troy out there. What's up, DRS? That time of the year again for HR props. Absolutely. It's Dinger Tuesday, which I think they downgraded again, by the way. I saw somebody getting upset at like $10 there. I haven't researched that yet. So if anybody knows the official, FanDuel Dinger Tuesday props, which were certain rules for some people last year, certain rules for others, which I didn't get to participate all that much in what I thought it was going to be. You remember, guys, a couple years ago, Dinger Tuesday run, I hit 8 straight Dinger Tuesdays. Those were the good old times, man. $25 at least at that point and hit multiple ones per game, but you're looking to cash in tickets. Those were fantastic. But let me get back here to the NFL landscape of things where kickoffs coming out of the end zone. I like to see more like that. I like to see returns. I think it's more exciting. And when I was going to this, before I read the chat box, watching YouTube football games in the NFL from the 80s and the 90s. You guys know me. I'm a big Eagles fan. I love to go back and watch the games where I don't quite remember being a younger Eagles fan. Like, oh, remember where that happened? Or this game took place? Or all those hellacious games between the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants and the Washington Redskins back in the day. They were absolutely sensational to watch it play out. But I always get a kick out of where, like, the Eagles would have, like, Luis Ndejas, Roger Ruzek, Gary Anderson, like, later in his years. And he'd be like, okay, kick the ball off 62 times this year, 4 touchbacks. You see what I mean? Like, touchbacks were like in the anomaly back in the late 80s and the early 90s. And now every single kick is a touchback at this point because they keep moving the kickoff further up because they don't want to really get returns, to get people injured. It's just a different way for football to react. But I do think they found the happy medium of taking the kickoff that's dynamic now, where the players don't move until the ball is actually caught, and saying, okay, if you want to continue to kick it out of the end zone, that's your prerogative. You can do that. We're also going to penalize you and take you back out to the 35-yard line. I think that one should be good. One thing that did not get approved today or actually get voted on today was probably the most anticipated outcome of the day from the owners' meeting. and that was the tush push, to ban or not to ban. Again, I'm an Eagles fan. The Eagles do it very well. I don't want them to ban it because we love that play. It works just about 99% of the time for a 1-yard gain for a first down and or touchdown, just to move the chains, salt the clock away, whatever have you. But the thing I do get a kick out of here is when NFL coaches such as Sean McDermott, which we played the clip of the early line a little bit earlier today, that basically said, I'm worried about injuries on this play, and then would contradict himself by saying, even though we don't really find injuries on this play, eventually we might get injuries on this play. That's what I think is hilarious. And also the understanding of what the tush push actually is. And sometimes I like to take some of those wild stances on the opposite direction, meaning everybody can do the tush push. If you don't want to do it or aren't good at it, yes, you're going to vote to ban it because it helps your football team. But what happens if we started to put in play where it's like, you know what? Lamar Jackson is a dynamic runner. I think we should vote against quarterbacks being able to actually run the football out of the pocket, which means they snap the ball and it's a pass. They have a 5-yard window to actually throw the football in. And that's it. They can't run out of it. They can't leave it. They can't rush for extra yards because that would be unfair. See what I'm talking about? That doesn't make sense. At least back up your stats on injuries. They can't do that. Much more hot topics, which includes Major League Baseball. What happened last night? What was your boy DRS hot? Yeah, we'll talk about it more right now. Get back with us, baby. Stick it right here. Here's XM Channel 159.
Download the SportsGrid mobile app.
Just do it.
You might as well get it.
We're not going to shut up about it until you do.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
With the SportsGrid News Flash, I'm Trey Westerberg. 20 staffers at a suburban Philadelphia charter school are facing charges related to the alleged physical abuse of students using painful, unapproved techniques to restrain and punish youths in a program meant to help them deal with emotional issues. Delaware County District Attorney Jack Stolzheimer said the counts involve acts against 26 children in kindergarten through 5th grade at the Chester Community Charter School. Those charged are accused of physically abusing the students or failing to report suspected abuse. The nation's largest public utility promoted one of its top executives to CEO, putting Don Moll in charge of the Tennessee Valley Authority. The utility announced that its board picked Moll as the president and chief executive to replace Jeff Lyash, who said in January that he would retire no later than September. The board currently has 5 members and 4 vacancies. I'm Trey Westerberg with the SportsGrid News Flash.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like to take on your workday with Cintas. They make sure your AEDs are up to date, your fire extinguishers are tested and inspected, your floor mats are cleaned and delivered, and your workwear looks good, feels good, and is freshly laundered with the Cintas Apparel Plus program. So are you ready to take on today? Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Okay, raise your hand if you want to make your life a little bit easier. Great. Now raise your other hand if you like to be comfortable. Perfect. Now that you have both hands raised, imagine putting on your shoes. And that, folks, right there is your answer to an easier, more comfortable life. Go hands-free with Skechers Slip-ins. This is footwear you don't need your hands to put on. They can be raised in the air, and you can just step it and go. Why don't you experience what people can't stop talking about? Life-changing Skechers Slip-ins. Get your Slip-ins at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
Let's make something crystal clear. The winning edge has nothing to do with increasing good luck. Luck has nothing to do with it. It's sports gaming strategies and information. You want luck? Flip a coin. You want to win?
Flip it here.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
More things coming down from the NFL. It's like, Donnie, what is this? Is it April Fool? What's up with all the new action here from the NFL? Well, it's simple. They're at the owners' meeting where they vote on a lot of procedural things in the upcoming season, tweaks to some rules, brand new rules being introduced. And how about this one? This one might fly under the radar. It's 2 things I want to talk about. The first one here, it's in the kicking game and special teams. We just told you that the kickoff in the NFL, the dynamic kickoff is going to stay, but instead of getting a touchback, it being brought back to the 30, it's going to come back to the 35-yard line. Albert Breer just tweeted out, and this is an interesting one that's probably going to fly really under the radar, and it shouldn't. The new K-ball rule is passed. He said, what's a K-ball? Is that a drug? I'm like, no, it's not a drug. It's the kicking ball. And it says per source, allowing for teams to prepare them ahead of game day. He said, well, why would that be important? It used to be for the kicking game, and you'll see it on the field. You get different balls sent in for the kickers because, it's not going to be the same football they use where the quarterback's throwing it and all that stuff. They have their own separate ones. But they couldn't prepare those footballs like they used to do in the past. There were stories where, you would just rough them up and scuff them up and make them easier to kick and put them in the dryer and do all these things to them. So when a kicker lines up a field goal, it's a much easier kick for them to make, which means that you're not just dealing with a hard rock football right out of the bag or right out of the pump that they have in the back. In college football, we used to have a new football every single week for a game day football, which means you had to break those footballs in early in the week, which having a quarterback that threw pretty hard in college, used to hate breaking the new footballs because they were rock. But by the end of the week, they were softened up a little bit and much more easy to use. Same thing with kickers. If you can doctor the football, not by taking the air out of it, but actually just scuffing it up, making it softer, you see kickers before the game. How many times do you squeeze both ends of the football, push them into the ground, roll them all around, do this stuff because they're new footballs on game day. So now the kickers can actually prepare them ahead of game day. We're going to see 65-yard field goals as the norm now. We're going to see punters absolutely blasting footballs an extra 2 to 3 yards at this point because you can sort of commandeer the football, make it the way you want. Pedro's in the chat box out here. There's let's go. Absolutely. So, yeah, that's an interesting rule here in the kicking game itself, and we'll see how that follows. Next up here, this always is something that deals with me and family and holidays and how it interrupts things. You knew it was going to happen. It's going to be here for a long time, people, because the NFL is about ratings, and they don't care what day of the week it is that Christmas falls. They understand by playing on Christmas, they have taken over that day, and the NBA is in shambles because of it. Now, granted, I love the NFL. And on a holiday, if you're going to a family member's house, sometimes it's not all that fun. Hey, what are you going to do here today? Open some gifts, sit back, drink, do something like that. Yeah, that's all fine and good. But boy, don't you love to have a sporting event on your TV other than the NBA, which bores me to no end because the NBA should not be playing their season anytime short of, let's just say, Christmas Day at the earliest, let alone New Year's Day and after. That's an NFL day now. Because why? The NFL will continue playing games on Christmas with a triple header planned for the 2025 season since the holiday now falls on a Thursday. You remember, I believe it was Wednesday last year that they did it. The first two games will be on Netflix, which we all hate, while the night game will be on Amazon, which we all hate as well. So there you go. The NFL will continue, no matter what day of the week it's going to be, to play a full schedule on Christmas. And I like that in one way because I like holidays with football on my TV. But understand, guys, the business I'm in. There's an NFL game day. I'm in the studio. So again, waking up early on Christmas, driving into the studio for an NFL Christmas Day game. It is what it is. So it's sort of that double-edged sword where love the fact that it's on Christmas and hate the fact it's on Christmas because I certainly will be in studio there. By the way, other NFL news, Peter Schrager's joined the ESPN NFL team. I don't know what he's going to be doing, maybe game day on coverage, but he leaves the NFL Network. There's a spot open for the NFL Network. Anybody want to hand in their, hey, here's my tape. I'm really good. Maybe it's a chance that you can actually do that today. All right. Tush push tabled out there on the ownership group. They don't want to vote on it. They're going to push it back till May. Maybe they get a little more steam to try to ban it there. We'll see what happens here. Other hot topics in the NFL, Rodgers to the Vikings. Who knows if he's going to get there, if he's not going to get there, if he wants to play with the Steelers. We'll find that out as well. So a lot of different things. And also, by the way, quickly, the overtime rules have changed now, where each team is going to get a possession no matter what, just like in the playoffs. I agree with that here, but only 10 minutes in overtime. I don't agree with that. Should have been put at 15 minutes. You're going to have teams be more confident and have an equal playing field. Hey, won the toss, ruined 7.5 minutes out there, kicked the field goal. Now the other team doesn't have 7.5 minutes. They have 2.5 minutes, and away you go there at that point here. But enough with that. That's the NFL. We're excited for it. It's always in our lives. Waiting this month, in the month of April, for the NFL draft. Who's going to be number one overall? Could it be Cam Ward? You get the picture. But let's set the table also. Let's do another sneak peek this weekend at the Final Four. Florida and Auburn, game number 1, 6:09 Eastern. Game number 2, Houston and Duke, 8:49 Eastern. Line opened up for Florida and Auburn at -2.5, still sits at 2.5 across the board. FanDuel, DraftKings, BetMGM, Bet365 here in New Jersey. Game number 2, 679, 680 on the rotation, 8:49 start. That's Houston and Duke. That line opened up at a 4.5 point number. Still at FanDuel here, sits at 4.5. If we go across the board, it's actually up to 5.5 at DraftKings and BetMGM and 5 at Bet365. You know, a lot of that Duke money is certainly going to come in, no question about it. I want to see where that line falls. Am I excited to bet against Duke or maybe fade Duke? No, not necessarily. But you're talking about a line with a team in Houston that is dynamic. And we always talk about Houston is awesome on offense. They're really good. Houston awesome on defense. They're really good on offense as well. Now, Duke is damn near the best on offense and defense, and you see what they do to teams. Good luck with that one. The total at 136.5. But the game that actually is really interesting to me with the line is that Florida-Auburn game that sits at 2.5 and a high total of 160.5. Florida and Auburn getting their first look at playing in a dome this year, as opposed to Houston, who just got playing a couple games in a dome in Lucas Oil Stadium, now in a dome at the San Antonio Dome. But Florida-Auburn, 160.5, I automatically think I want to take that under. Open up at 161.5, down a point there. But to be honest, Auburn is awesome. They are. I just think Florida's the better team. You take a look at Janai Broom, who got injured late in that game against Michigan State, how healthy he's going to be with that elbow. If he's hindered in any way, I don't see Auburn winning that game. I really don't. I think that line is more apt to go higher than 2.5 than lower at this point. But the Final Four going to take place this weekend. Going to be a lot of fun. We'll catch up, see if those lines change throughout the week. But I want to talk Major League Baseball next. Stick with us right here on Moneyline.
Get the SportsGrid mobile app. It's much easier to carry than your lucky horseshoe.
And you won't get stopped at the airport.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. The SportsGrid Radio Network presents This Date in Sports History.
1963, the Mets buy outfielder Duke Snider from the LA Dodgers for $40,000. Snider had start for the Dodgers from 1947 through 1957, winning a championship in 1955. Unfortunately, the Mets lost 111 games that season under legendary manager Casey Stengel.
Amazing.
For SportsGrid Radio, I'm Mike DeMurgis.
The Technology Minute with George Capalbo.
New Roar University research finds unremarkably when you burn your hand on the stove, it really hurts. However, if your hand is hidden so you can't see it while it's getting burned, while you're staring at a lifelike rubber hand, it doesn't hurt much. Kids, don't try this at home, but this confusing rubber hand illusion has uncovered a complicated relationship between the human mind and pain, maybe leading to effective new therapies for chronic discomfort. However, no information yet on the effects on the nervous system from wearing a rubber nose. Follow me at Capalbo on X, and stay tuned to the Technology Minute for more cool stuff like this.
Sports Rage tonight.
I've said it before, March Madness, like the actual NCAA tournament, it's for amateurs. It's like New Year's Eve. Every jackass, Johnny and Sally go out on New Year's Eve, right? And, we're partiers. We go out on New Year's Eve. We go out on Halloween. Now, the real drunks are going out on Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays. You know what I'm saying?
It's Sports Rage Tonight with Gabe Morency. Weekdays, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific on the SportsGrid Radio Network. There are too many people addicted to their phones these days, unless it's to look or listen to the SportsGrid mobile app.
In fact,
you should delete all your apps but ours.
Your wife texts you too much anyway.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Right back at it here, people. It's Moneyline, solo mission with DRS. A lot of hot topics being kicked around, and you know the commercial break pops in. I give the people here on the SportsGrid Network that are watching on demand right now. Is that Aaron's in there, Go Fast Troy's in there, Pedro's in there, Sean B's in there, Kristen Hess is in there. Love the little community that we have, building it day by day. Once again, if you want to reach out to the show live while we're talking on the air, SportsGrid On Demand, hit the follow button, get in here, say hello. Always have that open, as I say. Now, you know me, I'm a big proponent of organizations that say one thing and do opposite things. Just be true to your game here. We're led to believe that the San Francisco 49ers love Brock Purdy. And why not? It's a good quarterback in the NFL. The question is going to be, like, how much money are we going to pay Brock Purdy moving forward? Now, he's been one of the more unbelievable cheap targets in football over the past couple of years, making under $1 million as a starting quarterback and playing above average football. That is a dream come true for an NFL team to have, which San Francisco's had that. How much longer they have that for? Probably not much longer. But when you talk about Jed York, the owner of the 49ers, who was given the team by his father, sometimes you just hit the lottery. Like, hey, man, I can just win Powerball. Can you imagine if your dad or your family owned an NFL team? It's like, hey, you're young. Let me just hand it over to you. It's yours now. Good luck with that. And no matter what decision you make, you're always going to make money. What a great business to hand down to your kid. You can ruin it on a day-to-day basis, and you can't ruin it enough where you don't make billions of dollars. It's crazy. But now understand this, which I had to put a retweet on. It says, York said the 49ers committed to Brock Purdy long-term before internal discussions last year and wish they could have done it sooner. So that either means like they weren't sure that he was going to be the starter and quarterback moving forward, or how they were sold on him. But they found a way last year to have that. And then he comes in with my favorite quote. When guys with NIL are making more than a third-year NFL pro, there's something wrong with the system not being able to extend guys earlier in the NFL. Hey, bonehead, Jed York, you could have extended him last offseason. What are you talking about? You still haven't extended him now. He might go into this season here without a contract. I don't know what we're talking about. I don't know. It's nuts to try to think about what he's actually saying at this point, where you could have extended him, but now you still don't have him signed, and you're right about what he's worth, but he's your franchise guy, and away you go. Like, ridiculous. This ridiculous talk out of an NFL owner. But that's not where I want to go right now. I want to go Major League Baseball. How many games are on the docket today? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It's a Tuesday. We got 13 games. I love to see it. My Philadelphia Phillies are off today because you can't play more than 2 games in a row in Major League Baseball. You get exhausted to start the season because it's a long season. I understand it was a home opener. If it was bad weather, they want to push it back. Nonsense. Let's step into the 21st century and play these games the way they're supposed to be played. Having said that, yesterday was very profitable for me. And I always like to take the people down the pathway of looking for action during the early parts of the season. I do post plays quite frequently. You know me. If you follow me at RightSideVP. Tweeted out 2 games that were already completed yesterday that I won. I said, you know what? I got 4 more games coming up tonight with parlays here. Let me send them out to the people. Those 4 parlays went 3-1 last night. Now, granted, they're not parlays 8 and 9 to 1. One, I believe, was a plus 125. One was a plus 155. But the other ones were like minus 135 and like minus 140, minus 145 in that respect. So I'm sort of playing a little bit angles earlier in the season that I think makes some sense. I love markets of, like, if they need to score a run, get an RBI, and sometimes base hits. You know me, I'm a big RBI guy. It's usually all plus money across the board. Take a hot hitter here. Chances and not. And Kevin, who will attest to this all the time, Donnie, why don't you just take all home run props? I was like, it's a little bit tough to follow. I'll take 10 props, on a Tuesday night for RBI props, and 4 of those 10 will probably hit a home run tonight. And yet I still don't do it. It's just not in my scope. It's a little bit more outlandish. I just want the chance. Like, case in point, last night, Mike Trout was over 3 at the plate. Did you know, guys, he had 2 RBI last night? I would have cashed a ticket there if you were just betting singular RBI. Like, just take the base hit props. Take the over bases at 2.5 or 3.5. Like, he didn't get a base hit, but still had 2 RBI. The RBI market is phenomenal. Get to know it. But the numbers that I've started using last year, and only available right now on Bet365, it's the 1+1+1 market, which means yesterday, Mike Trout once again. I just needed Trout to get either a RBI, a base hit, or score a run, and that will check his box. Now you say, boy, that seems pretty easy. Well, the price points aren't plus 100 or plus 125 for those. They're minus 250, minus 270, minus 280, minus 350 if it's like Aaron Judge in the middle of a lineup with a wind blowing out at Yankee Stadium. So you have to pair a few of those together in one game to try to match them up. Or you could do them in multiple games from like, hey, I like a game in the Mets game. I like a player in the Texas game. I like a player in the Arizona game. We're going to get to more of these type of wagers here after the break. I want to go back to what happened last night and then take a look at the card today. Not a lot of pitcher stats that we have. Not a lot of batter stats that we have. Doesn't mean we can't make money like we did last night. We'll talk about it next on Moneyline.
This is the place.
This is where you'll get expert perspectives and sports gaming strategies 24/7.
And it's free.
Beat that, you cheap. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Progressive presents the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders. The NCAA Women's Basketball Final Four is set. This Friday night, it'll be Texas battling South Carolina. The two teams finished atop the SEC at 15-1. The other game has UCLA battling UConn. Last night, Texas advanced with a 58-47 win over TCU, while UConn got past USC 78-64. South Carolina, the defending champs, they're back in the Final Four for the 5th consecutive season. They're chasing their 4th national title under head coach Don Staley. The men's Final Four is this Saturday. It'll be the Florida Gators battling the Auburn Tigers and the Duke Blue Devils battling the Houston Cougars. The Red Sox have come to a contract extension with left-hander Garrett Crochet. It's a $170 million deal that starts in 2026 with an opt-out after 2030. Bundle auto and home, renters, or condo and save with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
Hey there, I'm Jack.
And I'm Stag.
We're just two deer that want to make sure you know it's deer season at your authorized John Deere dealer. The deer season that saves bucks. You know, like us.
Yeah, you can get $3,000 off select John Deere machines. No early wake-up calls or tree stands required.
Just a trip to your authorized dealer before June 2nd.
If you ask us, it's the only deer season worth celebrating.
Visit johndeere.com/deer season to find an authorized dealer and for complete finance details.
Testing.
We're live from Chick-fil-A.
This is Grant.
And this is Laura.
And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich is that sweet bun.
And that chicken filet was perfectly crispy and soft at the same time.
And that Smokehouse Barbecue sauce, it's a lot of fun. And the brown sugar bacon definitely had a little bit more pizzazz. Also, the mac, one of the all-time greats. Man, I'm getting hungry.
Order the Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich and a Coca-Cola on the Chick-fil-A app for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
If sports talk stations were buffets, we'd be the one with the line out the door where every night is rib night and you came alone because the crowd gives you a measure of cover so you won't get any grief for going back 9 times. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Dropping a Major League Baseball season. It's like poker, man. It's a long grind. It really is. Different evolutions of the season opening up. Not really used to which player is going to be great at this moment, which player is not going to be so great, which player as a pitcher is going to be stretched out enough to go 7 or 8 innings early. The bullpen might be a little bit of a mess. The weather conditions usually not advantageous. 50s and 60s as opposed to 70s, 80s, and 90s once you get into the summer months, depending on where you're playing and at what times of the day. And yesterday, you sort of got that glimpse as well. The Brewers can't get out of their own way. 0-4, one of the favorites to win the NL Central. They're brutal at the plate. Their run differential is horrible, and the Royals came right into town and cleaned their clock. Bubic with a clean game yesterday to open up his season. Had some pretty good statistics last year. The Twins, another Central team, this time not from the NL, but from the AL. They get blasted 9-0. Feels like the Twins are getting shut out to me on a day-to-day basis. That is a brutal lineup that can't hit. And the White Sox, of all teams, hanging a 9 spot on them in cold weather, which saw them pull Correa and also Buxton after like 1 at bat in that game as if the game was over. It's ridiculous. They're precautionary. We're going to bring him out. I don't understand what's going on there. You take a look at the Orioles and the Red Sox. They got off to a hot start, and thank goodness for overbackers late in the game, tacked on a few runs. 8-5 victory there. You take a look at some, key components to that Orioles offense. A lot of fun to watch it. Still waiting for Rafael Devers to wake up for the Boston Red Sox. The Phillies, which like opening day in Washington, couldn't hit the starting pitcher. Once he left the game, they exploded for 11 hits and 6 runs. Same thing with the Philadelphia Phillies. Hey, let's struggle through this or do this. And by the way, Max Kepler and Nick Castellanos going back-to-back yesterday. Kepler looks like a pretty good addition so far, at least, for the Philadelphia Phillies. The Mets get rolling against the Marlins and improve to 2-2. That was one of the games I had 4 players in there to absolutely get loose and get nuts. And Nimmo late hit a 2-run home run to push me over. Usually, it's 2, 2, and 3 on the parlays that I use on the 1, 1, and 1 props. But sometimes you go to the 4th because it just makes sense to do that. And it did with the Mets at plus money, so I was able to cash that ticket. One I lost yesterday was the Rangers. I had Jock Peterson in the middle of that lineup and Corey Seager. And I said, you know what? I think it's a pretty good look here. I think they can hit, and it's a good ballpark to do so. They didn't do anything in that game. By the way, Ellie De La Cruz, 2 home runs in that game. I think he had 7 RBI. The new bowling pin bat that he's using, taking a step out of the playbook there for the New York Yankees. Torpedo style, baby. I'd love to see that. Rays get a win over the Pirates, 6-1, finally come to life on offense there. The Jays get a victory and improve to 3-2 on the season. It's a lowly Nationals who dropped to 1-3. How about the Angels and the Cardinals series? Both of them now sit at 3-1. That was another one I got late. And again, you're just hoping for certain instances. I think it was like a -125, -135, but just two players, Trout and Soler, to each get 1-1-1, which again is at least one hit, at least one run, and or at least one RBI. Trout goes 0 for 3, 2 RBIs, cashes that ticket. Soler gets a base hit, I believe, either in the 8th or the 9th inning to cash and put that over. That's the great part about it. You're not asking for I need an RBI in the 8th inning and nobody's on, so I need a home run. You just need a base hit at that point. Or a walk where somebody drives you in at that point and it cashes. They're fun bets to make. The Padres improved to 1-7-2 and improved to 5-0 on the season. The Tigers in Seattle, a 9-6, a 15-run game where the Tigers had 18 hits in that. My guy Emerson Hancock got blasted. They didn't even make it out of the first inning. 2/3 of an innings pitched. They pulled him, got killed in that game. The Cubs, here's an interesting one that I want to talk about. The Cubs also were one of those plays that I sent out late, and I believe I had 4 players in that. I'm just going to my photo gallery real quick, so I want to bring out the 4 players I had, which I was already asleep, but I got a text, or a tweet last night right away from it, in which multiple people DM me behind the scenes, love to go back and forth. Tucker, Happ, Suzuki, and Bush, I believe that 1+ parlay, which was plus 155, hit in the first inning of that game, which you get those cluster bombs, which are great, which all it takes is let's just say you have the first 3 batters, right? First batter walks. Second batter gets a base hit, which knocks the guy over to first and third. Then you get a sac fly. Boom. All 3 are in the door. You get the leadoff walk, which doesn't count for anything, but he scored. Checkmate. The guy who batted second got a base hit to center in the third. Checkmate on him. And then the final guy who hit a sacrifice fly 345 feet to the right field wall gets the RBI, so he cashes in. That was a good one. That hit right away, no stress. And again, I wasn't even up for it at that plus 155 price, but that one came home. But the reason I want to talk about the 2 is you saw that game, first game at home for the Athletics in Sacramento, 31 combined hits and 21 runs. And again, 18 from the Chicago Cubs. Keep an eye on the situation. We talked about it with myself, Tom Vecchio, Pro Baseball Today, to open the season. The effects of not playing in Oakland and moving to Sacramento, which takes away one of the worst hitting ballparks in Major League Baseball, and possibly now could turn it into a positive. That's a great start with 21 runs. Something to keep an eye on that I eyed that up last night. Last game of the night, I don't know what's going on with the Atlanta Braves. That's a bad baseball team. The Dodgers are 6-0 to start the season. The Braves are now 0-5, and they can't score. Glasnow, again, was phenomenal on the mound last night. It's an embarrassment for riches, as we continually say for the Dodgers, where they can do whatever they want. Unlimited payroll, unbelievable 1 through 9, freaky good bullpen, and a starting 5 where you actually have to keep pitchers down or on the IL because there's too much talent to have them all on the same Major League Baseball team. It's wild what the Dodgers are going to do. But yesterday, did a couple videos. I did have the Dodgers on the run line, which I'm not a big run line guy. I just thought it made some sense yesterday. -1.5 was like plus 102, plus 101, depending where you're shopping, like right around even money. I thought that was a pretty good look to get that done. Now, handicapping in Major League Baseball today. There are websites that I do like to use, and I use a couple of them. Sometimes just to get the views. Fantasy Alarm is one of those sites that I like to take a look at where it'll show you like statistics day to day real quick to get a glimpse of the starting pitcher and just an easy eye frame to try to look at. This is what fits your eye and doesn't confuse you. The one thing you guys know I really love is Fangraphs. Subscribe to them. I think it's like $50 a year. It's not bad. You don't get the ads that pop up. It runs a lot quicker and smoother. And I like to support websites that actually help me in my handicapping. So I always do that. And I think it's an automatic donation. Comes out maybe July 1st every year for like $50, whatever it's said to be. But what I do there is there's the tab lines up top. And you go to scores and you drop it down. You see live scoreboard, probable pitchers. You click it over to probable pitchers. And then it gives you the starting list of the pitchers for that day. Now, granted, we're really early in the season, and this doesn't really matter all that much because you're going off of 2024 statistics per se, how they handled their ERA, xFIP numbers, K rates, all that good stuff here. But once the season kicks in, where it's like 30 days, and you got maybe 20 to 30 innings pitched for those pitchers, that's when you can start really grinding. But as I always talk about, like the tweets where I used to send out, here's my favorite home run prop of the day. Here's my favorite team total of the day. You always used to see the radar with the little blip out there. Like, you know what? Cracking a play here. Coming out in a couple minutes. Let's get after it. You can't really do that early season because you're just riding hot streaks for batters. feel on games, which again, I don't expect to lose any money in April. I never do. And yesterday was another great start after a decent weekend overall, which I'm hoping to do today. But when you say, like, Donnie, what's your favorite batters today? It's not exactly paint by numbers like it will be in a month and a half. Like, I like to use the site Roto-Grinders. When I get layouts in a month of statistics in Major League Baseball, it's the easiest sport to handicap all the way through the rest of the season. Because the numbers are what they are. If you trust in the numbers long term, it's going to work out in your favor more times than it isn't. But today, right? And also with Roto-Grinders, which I did send them an email, and I've talked about it multiple times, where we don't have the current stat situation up for the players at bats just yet this year. Last 30 days, statistics on there are wrong. Current season statistics are wrong. But again, you're really flying blind anyway, which, hey, they had 11 at-bats and they hit it 1 home run, so the power numbers look fantastic. We knew that's going to balance out over the season. We're playing with 6 at-bats and hit 2 home runs, and it looks like Babe Ruth all of a sudden. You want to take him every single day. That's not the case. So when we talk about like best bets and what you like to look at early in the season, I'm just like you at this point. I take a look and I say, what's the weather conditions on that field? A pitcher I don't think is all that good. Maybe making his first start of the season, second start of the season, no real backdrop on there. But you're just trying to get clusters in the lineups that you think can really take care of business. And it's been successful so far. We've got a couple episodes left here of the show. Or should I say a couple segments, excuse me. We're going to take a look at some of these games and go line by line of where we might be able to find some of that action here. But you know, follow me on X/Twitter. I got plays. I'm giving them out tonight. At Rightside VP. I'll be right back.
Winning is not just beating the odds. It's the thing that keeps the wife smiling and your kids in respectful awe.
Oh, Father, now cut that out!
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Progressive presents the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders. The Red Sox have come to a contract extension with left-hander Garrett Crochet. It's a $170 million deal that starts in 2026 with an opt-out after 2030. Atlanta Braves outfielder Jurickson Profar has been suspended for 80 games following a positive test for a banned substance. He's eligible to return to the team on June the 29th, but as part of the suspension, he'll be ineligible for the 2025 postseason if the Braves make it. The NCAA women's basketball Final Four is set. This Friday night, it'll be Texas battling South Carolina. The two teams finished atop the SEC at 15-1. The other game has UCLA battling UConn. Last night, Texas advanced with a 58-47 win over TCU, while UConn got past USC 78-64. Bundle auto and home, renters, or condo and save with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
This is the sale you've been waiting for. The Macy's Spring VIP sale is here. Exclusive savings on the season's most loved brands with an extra 30% off Avec Les Filles, Karl Lagerfeld, DKNY, and more. Plus, get 15% off beauty essentials from MAC, Armani Beauty, and too many others to mention. So get to the Macy's Spring VIP sale now and shop brands you love at prices you'll love even more. Savings off regular and already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
Spring forward with real unlimited data from Straight Talk this tax season and get a free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G or Moto G Power 5G 2024 with select plans. So you can stream games during Mad March hours, check the weather for April showers, and watch gardening videos about May flowers. Straight Talk, real unlimited data. Available at Walmart and straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 4/15/25. Taxes and fees apply. Requires purchase of single line gold unlimited plan or higher. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com.
You've heard of smart bombs,
Smartphones, smart cars, smart watches, and smart glasses.
Now you can add smart player.
Giving you sports gaming strategies and information 24/7.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
First thing everybody should have in their Major League Baseball toolbox is a site, and a lot of them have it. Make sure you get the weather condition, and hour by hour to see where the temperatures are at, or in the parts of the game, and also more importantly, where the wind is blowing at. So if I'm just taking a look right now at Roto-Grinders, obviously their first game of the day listed Mets and the Marlins. That game is going to be played in a dome in Miami. Could it be open? Could it be closed? A little bit different. Mets were really good yesterday, pounding away at the Marlins. But I don't even want to look at the pitching matchups for today. Excuse me. I just want to make sure we have some of the weather down. So weather indications there, obviously not worried about it in a dome. Texas Rangers, Cincinnati Reds in the summer, one of the better ballparks, hitting ballparks there. Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. 54 degrees with a light wind blowing in from left field. It's not great weather, but not cold weather, not terrible conditions. So that's not a game that I would stray away from for the Rangers and the Cincinnati Reds. You take a look at the Diamondbacks and the Yankees. This game going to be played in the Bronx. 50 degrees, so much cooler temperatures than what you normally would find in Arizona at this time of the year, any time of the year, quite frankly. But that wind is blowing out 10 miles an hour to the right field port. So basically to right center field. That could be a go there. Burns versus Warren on the mound, an 8.5 total, which is up from 8 earlier this morning, and a slight favorite to the New York Yankees. Looks like a minus 110 price, so it's basically a pick 'em on both sides, Burns and Warren. We'll get to that in just a bit, but weather conditions for Yankee Stadium, not bad here. They've been bombing away, and maybe they extend it to bombing away tonight again. Pittsburgh Pirates and the Tampa Bay Rays. Donnie, it's a dome. No, it's not a dome. That's Steinbrenner Field. 81 degrees with a light wind blowing out to right center field. No issues with that, which is what we like to see. Blue Jays and the Nationals, they play in the Rogers Center. There's no need to worry about weather conditions there. The windy city of Chicago, it's going to be cold today. First pitch, 7:40 p.m. Eastern, 43 degrees. By the time we get to the end of the game, probably dipping into the low 40s at this point. Wind conditions, 17 plus miles per hour blowing in from center field. One of those games that, and of course, I mean, you can get a lot of singles and get a lot of base hits and put that over. That's not really a game I'm looking forward to if I'm betting any RBI props or batter props here. That game looks like a no-go if you're looking for offense. Kansas City Royals and the Milwaukee Brewers, same thing. That is in a dome. Not worried about that game at 7:40 Eastern. You take a look at the Los Angeles Angels and the St. Louis Cardinals. 60 degrees at start. By the time the game ends, around 57 degrees, so not bad. But the wind is blowing, more of a crosswind. Think right foul pole to left foul pole with a little bit of it blowing in from right field. So not advantageous weather conditions, but again, not freezing cold out there in St. Louis. You take a look at the Houston Astros in a dome, so no need to handicap the weather in that one. Same thing with Seattle. Now, granted, Seattle, I mean, it is a dome per se, like if they close it, but there is some elements out there. Not reporting anything back in that game between Detroit and Seattle, which went nuts last night with runs as we talked about. The Cleveland Guardians and the San Diego Padres. This game starts 9:40 Eastern out on the West Coast. 55-degree temperatures and a wind again blowing left foul pole to right foul pole, about 16 miles per hour. So maybe if that's pointing a little bit more towards right field, maybe get it caught up in that jet stream as we get a kick out of it. Now here we go. Oakland / Sacramento / just the A's. 55-degree temperatures. And Sacramento, a 10 o'clock start tonight. Be in the high 50s by the end of this game. Cooler temperatures tonight. Wind is blowing out to right field at about 10 miles per hour, so something to keep an eye on. Now, if we're looking at pitching matchups, and sometimes the only thing you can go off of is, let's just say, last year. So I'm going to go 2024 statistics, since most of these pitchers, if they did pitch, like let's just say Nathan Eovaldi, didn't pitch all that long. Same thing, let's just say Chris Sale didn't pitch all that long because he only had, one start of the season. But if we're taking a look at xFIP minus numbers, see, these are some of the numbers you need to know. Sierra is skill interactive ERA. If you use those numbers, say, Donnie, what does that actually mean? Skill interactive ERA is you take a look at the ERA of the pitcher and you put in defense, which means how well that defense is playing behind you. Those numbers will be adjusted. Just to give you a look at if it was last year on a full season, Kodai Senga of the New York Mets has the lowest Sierra on the card of 1.66, which is astronomically good, which means he's a good pitcher and getting good defense behind him. I don't really use Sierra all that much. xFIP numbers you'll hear me talk about a lot. That's the, let me just make sure I get this exactly correct for you guys. Expected fielder independent pitching. Ooh, that sounds kind of odd. Here's what it is. It takes the pitcher and gives you all the underlying metrics of how good that pitcher has been doing, and also calculated induced fly balls. So that means strikeouts, hit by batter, fly balls to the outfield. You get the picture. Not just home runs, just fly balls. And that gives you a chance at how that pitcher actually does without his defense. Hey, the defense making great plays. I don't care. What does the pitcher do for himself here? Now you take it to another level, which I actually really like. xFIP minus numbers. Boy, Donnie, these things sound so kind of weird. It's not. It just takes the pitcher himself and includes the ballpark of the league they're playing in to sort of extrapolate numbers of how well that pitcher is doing. Case in point, if you start every single game for the Miami Marlins at home, down in that big cave, it's hard to give up home runs and tons of runs in a pitcher's ballpark. But it's not fair if you use the same metrics for a guy who pitches in Colorado. That removes it. So it gives you 100 as a baseline average to see where these guys are pitching and doesn't downgrade you or upgrade you just where your pitching environment is. It just gives you the nuts and bolts of what you want to like. So sometimes it's trial by error for you guys out there. If you're hearing these numbers, research it. Go on Google. Type in XFIP meaning. Type in XFIP minus meaning. Type in Sierra meaning, SIERA, right? Just type it in. You'll learn there. There's so many more numbers that you can use on top of the ones that I like to use. But those are the pitching metrics that I'd like, because I want to know the value of the pitcher that I'm getting that day. Because you can get some pitchers with an ERA of 1.5. Wow, he's been great the first 4 starts. But his XFIP minus number is 119. Or his XFIP number is a 4.75. Do you get the picture here? Find those metrics. No long. ERA is a baseline that we talk about just for people that don't really understand baseball, to get them to understand baseball. Hey, low ERA must be a good pitcher. 9 times out of 10, that's usually the case. But I want to find the statistics where that pitcher is getting lucky and go, man, Donnie, he's 5-0 out there. Yeah, well, he gives up a fly ball every single batter he faces here. That sooner or later, those balls are going to hit the seats as opposed to the warning track. Find those and find those statistics that fit in. And if you go to a site like Fangraphs, they have all those statistics. They have a glossary for all that stuff. Trial by error for your boy DRS for a long time, understanding which stats made the most sense in the way I like to handicap Major League Baseball games. Let's continue with the baseball talk. It's a Tuesday. What a better time to do that in the month of baseball. We'll be right back.
Get the SportsGrid mobile app and you'll never be alone. Take the latest episodes of your favorite shows with you anywhere. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. The new SportsGrid app is now available on iOS and the App Store. Experience the ultimate sports betting companion that provides personalized content from your favorite hosts. In-depth matchup previews, game and prop picks, live odds, stats, scores, and more. All in one place. And of course, on the SportsGrid app, you can tune into our live television and radio coverage anytime. On the go, wherever you are. Download the SportsGrid app on the iOS App Store now. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Imagine combining the exciting investment opportunity of cryptocurrencies with the power of artificial intelligence to maximize your IRA, 401k, or other investment funds. Listen, if you're looking for ways to accelerate your retirement growth, Block Trust IRA has market-leading strategies and solutions for all levels of investors, from $1,000 to millions. And they partner with Bitcoin Magazine's #1 crypto trading fund in the world to maximize your returns. Plus, their team of IRA specialists is here to help you roll over your IRA or qualified retirement account to the new world of cryptocurrency investments. So make this free call right now to set up your account and learn more.
800-434-5313. 800-434-5313. 800-434-5313. That's 800-434-5313.
Carver and Lisi.
By the way, great intro song, Matthias. I like that. That's going to be the new intro on Wednesdays with Carver and sometimes Lisi. Hey, look at this. I'm in the credits tonight. I made it to the big time. Look at this.
We had a discussion about this last night.
I was watching. I got a lot of things going on, Joe. Got a lot of things going on.
I don't understand what you're upset about. You're not on the show that night.
It's Carver and Lisi with Mike Carver and Joe Lisi. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific. On the SportsGrid Radio Network.
You've searched, and now you found it.
A mostly peaceful oasis in the sports talk desert, where one multi-platform giant shines like a lighthouse on the calm ocean.
Nice metaphor.
That network
is SportsGrid.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
I'll get back at it, people. I'm going with some numbers here. Trying to get the right vibes. Trying to see what we got in Major League Baseball. Very profitable yesterday. I enjoyed that immensely. It's a lot of fun because if anybody knows the way I bet Major League Baseball, sometimes it's really not about watching the game per se, but I enjoy the, let's just say, because I had like 20 bets, like overall, because here's the way I do it. I like instant, access to my victories. So if I had yesterday any combination of, how many did I have? Man, 1, 3, but let's just say 20 plus players involved. for me in wagers, which I did all of them yesterday, which I might change a little bit today, like maybe some RBI props and combine like everything together. But yesterday with those players, I will go to Bet365 because they're one of the books that when you hit a bet, it sends you like the notification, like it pops up. You see a little Bet365 icon. Congratulations, your blankety blank bet of $25, $50, $100, $200 paid back, whatever it was, and you get the win. So like, oh, Bryce Harper hit a home run. If I bet Bryce Harper hit a home run, but I like to know every step of the way if I'm getting close. So I will bet like $1 on every single one of those players, which are already included in my other bets. So let's just say when Schwarber hits his 1+1+1, which means, okay, you just got a base hit. It's not going to ring your phone or your watch if you get just that one because you had Bohm and Harper connected to it. Now, granted, all three of them won. So by the time it won, I did get the notification. But I like when it's like, okay, like that's the way it sounds on my watch right there. And I look down and it goes, oh, all right, $1 bet paid back $1.46. Well, I know I didn't hit my parlay, but I did hit one leg of the parlay. That's what I like. So if I'm walking the dogs or around the house or even just watching another television show, my phone is always next to me where it rings to my watch and lets me know that I won a bet, I'm close to winning a bet, and then I can check into it. Because I do like to watch the Phillies, and I watch my fair share of baseball, but I can't watch all 13 games all throughout the day specifically, when they're in the afternoon. It's just a fun way to wager that they allow you to. The FanDuel Sportsbook, which I use a lot, they don't have that capability of when you win a wager, it buzzes your phone. If not, but that's why I like 365, and that's not why I use them. Numbers are strong there, and wherever I'm getting better numbers are different marketplaces, which the 111 is at 365. On the other ones, you need 1.5 at least, but also on 365, you can mess with those 111s. Again, if you're listening, what's the 111? I didn't listen early in the show where I heard you explain it. Said player needs at least one base hit or one run or one RBI. Not all three. Not 2 of 3. Not 3 of 3. You just need one of those 3, and that would hit that leg of the parlay. So theoretically, again, if you're taking a pitcher that you think is really bad, I like to cluster the lineups. So I'll take the second, third, and fourth hitter. And again, numbers have to back this up as well and say, let's just get it started where second, it's the start of the third inning. Leadoff walk, as I said, followed by a base hit, followed by a sac fly. You cashed all 3 of those in 3 at-bats without getting 3 hits or 3 RBI or 3 home run or 3 runs scored. See what I'm getting at here? You have 3 different ways to win that. So in the 7th inning where you have a game where you have 3 or 4 players, you're like, oh, I'm waiting for one more. And he walks. Like, oh, no, I can't win that bet. No, you can win the bet. Somebody comes up behind him, knocks a double in the gap. He scores from first base. Boom, cash it. He scored a run. It's a fun betting market here. And 365 lets you go. You could do it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which means, again, if you're taking 6, which means a combination for Schwarber of 6 total RBI, runs scored, and or base hits, which is a tough day, right? You need, let's just say, two hits, which would give you a 2 spot, which included a home run, which would give you the 3 spot. You know what I mean? Like you have to 6 or score 4 runs. They're hard to get, which is why they pay exponentially better than just 1. But I'm just working on that one market and thinking if I can just elevate those numbers over the season and say, okay, I might take a 1, 2, and a 3 parlay, right? The first one, all 1's the lineup. The second one, all 2's the lineup. And the third one, all 3's, where if you get the first one and maybe the second one, that's a pretty good night. But you might have one of those nights where, again, 3 isn't that much. It's not. It's really not. If you take a look at in the first inning, you get a leadoff single that somebody drives you in. That's 2 right there. You have a cleanup hitter who hits a 3-run home run. That's a hit and 3 RBI right there. You see where I'm going? Sometimes those are really ping pong type bets that can add up. But those are some of the bets that I look forward to having fun early in the season. I'm telling you right now, Sunday, Pro Baseball Today, fantastic show. Will be there all summer long. Wait till we get 2 to 3 to 4 weeks into the season. Like Moneyline, when I do these solo mission shows, we're going to go over every single game, every single pitcher, every single statistic, and make those bets live on the air. It's a place to be. It really is. Getting people ready for baseball, explaining the processes, and having fun before that spot starts to hit in May. Thanks for tuning in today for JP Behind the Wheels of Steel. I'm your boy, Donnie Rightside. Tomorrow. See you later.
Ask Ask any woman and she'll tell you all men are afraid of commitment.
Clearly, she's never met a SportsGrid listener. Check.
The other game, 58-47 win over TCU, while UConn got past USC 78-64. South Carolina, the defending champs, they're back in the Final Four for the fifth consecutive season. They're chasing their fourth national title under head coach Don Staley. The men's Final Four is this Saturday. It'll be the Florida Gators battling the Auburn Tigers and the Duke Blue Devils battling the Houston Cougars. The Red Sox have come to a contract extension with left-hander Garrett Crochet. It's a $170 million deal that starts in 2026 with an opt-out after 2030. Bundle auto and home, renters, or condo and save with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
Hey there, I'm Jack.
And I'm Stag.
We're just two deer that want to make sure you know it's deer season at your authorized John Deere dealer. The deer season that saves bucks. You know, like us.
Yeah, you can get $3,000 off select John Deere machines. No early wake-up calls or tree stands required.
Just a trip to your authorized dealer before June 2nd.
If you ask us, it's the only deer season worth celebrating.
Visit johndeere.com/deer season to find an authorized dealer and for complete finance details.
Testing.
We're live from Chick-fil-A.
This is Grant.
And this is Laura.
And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich is that sweet bun.
And that chicken filet was perfectly crispy and soft at the same time.
And that Smokehouse Barbecue sauce, it's a lot of fun. And the brown sugar bacon definitely had a little bit more pizzazz. Also, the mac, one of the all-time greats. Man, I'm getting hungry.
Order the Smokehouse Barbecue Bacon Sandwich and our Coca-Cola on the Chick-fil-A app for a limited time. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
How many SportsGrid listeners does it take to change a light bulb?
It takes two.
One to change the light bulb, and one to see if our mobile app can provide the same amount of light. Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Scott Wetzel.
Off and running in today's edition of Football Full Circle, right here on the SportsGrid Radio Network, Sirius Channel 159. Joe Lisi and Scott Wetzel taking you around the NFL for the next hour. Scott, some news and notes around the NFL. It's the NFL owners and coaches meetings this week. They're potentially going to ban or try to ban the tush push. That vote came down. I do not believe they have enough votes to potentially get it through. So it looks like the tush push will be on the table for 2025. The other news and notes surrounded Aaron Rodgers. You saw him the other day throwing with DK Metcalf, potentially making an announcement tomorrow, potentially on the Pat McAfee show. But Matt LaFleur, his former coach, came out and said that if he were to sign with the Minnesota Vikings, that would be potentially a story. And I think would surprise a lot of people that he wouldn't go to Pittsburgh. He would, in fact, go to the Minnesota Vikings.
Well, listen, I'd rather be thrown to the Minnesota Viking receivers, right? Indoors, oh, by the way, versus frigid, Pittsburgh versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you look at the division, both divisions are actually tough. So, but I think the Minnesota situation, Joe, is better than Pittsburgh's, right? I mean, it would be a great story. I mean, it would be kind of funny just him following in Aaron Rodgers' footsteps, or Brett Favre's footsteps, right? It would just be going from the Jets to Minnesota. I don't think he's going to play, Joe. That may be the extreme at this point, but, he had the perfect situation with the Jets. He had his coaches. He had his players. Management, outside of ownership, was all in favor of him. He had everything perfect, and it didn't work out. So how do you go from an absolute perfect situation to, a secondary situation when you're that old, you got all the money in the world, you have a Super Bowl ring, you're a bona fide Hall of Famer? I mean, what are you playing for at this point?
Well, let me ask you this then, Scott. Then why have the photo op with DK Metcalf? And oh, by the way, the cameraman was just walking on the sidelines and just happened to see Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf hanging out in California, right? So it's a little odd. They had to call him up and say, hey, we're going to be doing a little bit something, show up and make sure you get some good footage. And now we know that, McAfee's in Pittsburgh tomorrow, potentially selling out tickets. What better way to make a splash and have a huge announcement on national TV with McAfee, his great friend. He does the show. And we saw Tomlin come out and say that they're so excited and they're content to have Mason Rudolph as their quarterback this year. Yeah, right. Okay. If you believe that, then I have a bridge to say. I think the biggest thing, though, is if you're Minnesota or you are the Pittsburgh Steelers, how much longer does this go on? Does this linger now if there's no announcement tomorrow? Does it linger up until the week of the draft? And at that particular point, when is enough enough?
I think you think about this, Joe. Let's just say it is Mason Rudolph. You went from the AFC North with Roethlisberger and Lamar Jackson and Jimmy B. Now you're going with Kenny Pickett with the Cleveland Browns and Mason Rudolph with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, it went from one of the best quarterback divisions to one of the mediocre, we'll just say, because you still got Joey B, obviously. But listen, there's no incentive for him to announce it now. This could go right up until the draft. Why wouldn't it? There's nothing going on. He's not missing any practices. He's not going to any kind of mini camps. Could he be throwing the football with the guys? Yeah, he could be doing that, but there's no real incentive for him to make the announcement now, especially if he's telling Pittsburgh, yeah, you know what, I probably am. I want to do it, but, I'm just going to hang out here for another couple of weeks or so. What's Pittsburgh doing? There's no other options on the table outside of Mason Rudolph and drafting. So as long as it's done before the draft, I think, it'll be okay. But I expect this to linger on for a couple more weeks.
Well, but that's the point, though, Scott. If you're Pittsburgh, when do you put the ultimatum? Because you can't just be hung out to dry by Aaron Rodgers leading up to draft day. There has to be,
what are they going to do right now, Joe? Let's say Rodgers today says, you know what, I'm retiring. Or I'm going to Minnesota.
Okay, great.
I'm not.
We'll move on.
Where are they going to go?
You can make a run. I'm not saying I would love it, but you can make a run at Kirk Cousins at this point. No, I'm just saying, what's the difference? What's the difference right now? Now, people will say Rodgers had a much better year. Kirk Cousins is washed up. I totally get that. I'm not suggesting Kirk Cousins is great. I think he absolutely sucks. But my point is, at some point, you have to cut ties and say, we can't accept this any longer. We have to have some sort of foundation and game plan for 2025, and we'll make a run at Kirk Cousins. And at the end of the day, maybe we pick up a quarterback in the draft. At least we have a game plan heading into the first round. You can't wait until August 20th and then Aaron Rodgers says no and the team's scrambling for a starting quarterback in the first round. Or then you're going to start the year with Mason Rudolph. That's the problem. These teams are allowing Aaron Rodgers to hold them hostage. And it's ridiculous. They are so quarterback needy. And both of these teams potentially put themselves in this position that they are at the mercy of Aaron Rodgers. And that's basically the point right now. You're having a team in Minnesota as well that's still searching for options. And O'Connell comes out and says, well, if I'm interested in Aaron Rodgers, doesn't mean that I'm not content with J.J. McCarthy. Oh, really? Is that what it says? Because to me, you're telling me that you don't believe J.J. McCarthy could be the starting quarterback this year.
That's really what it says, right? You used a first-round draft choice on the guy. You brought in someone else last year to compete with him. Unfortunately, you did because McCarthy got hurt, and now it's a chance for him to be the main man. And you're still entertaining offers from Aaron Rodgers. So, but here's the thing, Joe. Listen, the Atlanta Falcons, if they want to move away from Kirk Cousins, they could do that. But there's no incentive for them to do it now versus Aaron Rodgers making his decision at the end of the month. As long as it's done, like I said, a week or so before the draft, there's just no reason that it's got to get done. I know it stinks and maybe you'd like to know your future, but, Kirk Cousins isn't going anywhere and nothing's going to change from April 1st to April 30th.
Yeah, it could be the nail in Mike Tomlin's coffin as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, because if they swing and miss on this type of situation, second or third straight year that they're in limbo since Ben Roethlisberger left, this organization is going in reverse as opposed to challenging for an AFC championship. I mentioned the tush push. I think there are going to be about 8 votes short from last time I read, Scott, that, it's not going to go through this year. But are you shocked that they're potentially trying to ban the tush push? I'm against it in the sense of it's football. A quarterback sneak's been with NFL and college football for eons now. If you can't stop it, I don't understand why teams are trying to prevent it at this point, because Philadelphia does it better than anybody.
Yeah, but the naysayers will say it's not football, it's rugby, Joe. And I agree to that to a certain extent. I don't mind the tush push with the quarterback, My biggest thing has always been with the running back and wide receiver who's 5, 10 yards, 15 yards, whatever down the field. Right. And here come 3 offensive linemen, and they're pushing them even further down the field. That's the stuff I don't like, because that running back or wide receiver, he can't get tackled or fall down if he wanted to at that point. It's just an all impetus of all those receivers. Here's what I think is going to happen, Joe. I think there's going to be a happy compromise. I think they're going to make a point of emphasis with the officials. As soon as forward progress is stopped, you blow that whistle, play dead. No more pushing, going nowhere for 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and then eventually going further down the field. I think they're going to tell the officials, as soon as you see that forward progress stop at that quarterback, the play is dead.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. That's the way it used to be with the running backs. Now you see offensive linemen grabbing them by the back of the shoulder pads, ripping them forward on a 4th and 1 type of play. I totally agree with that. And you have a 160-pound wide receiver being picked up by 5 offensive linemen and carried 20 yards downfield. So, yes, that I agree with. As soon as forward progress is stopped, blow the whistle. As far as the tush push, here's the thing. For Sean McDermott, Scott, to come out and he has a 6'6" quarterback in Josh Allen, you would think that the Buffalo Bills would be one of the proponents and backers of this. They're against it. I just don't understand. They can't get it right. McDermott's a clown, isn't he?
It is kind of funny. They got the biggest, strongest quarterback in the NFL, and they're among the worst. Doesn't make any sense.
We'll be right back with more AFC and NFC odds on Football Full Circle.
4 out of 5 scientists agree it's smarter to be on SportsGrid, and we're pretty sure that one scientist is still a virgin. He just gives that 5. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
With the SportsGrid News Flash, I'm Trey Westerberg. 20 staffers at a suburban Philadelphia charter school are facing charges related to the alleged physical abuse of students using painful, unapproved techniques to restrain and punish youths in a program meant to help them deal with emotional issues. Delaware County District Attorney Jack Stolzheimer said the counts involve acts against 26 children in kindergarten through 5th grade at the Chester Community Charter School. Those charged are accused of physically abusing the students or failing to report suspected abuse. The nation's largest public utility promoted one of its top executives to CEO, putting Don Moll in charge of the Tennessee Valley Authority. The utility announced that its board picked Moll as the president and chief executive to replace Jeff Lyash, who said in January that he would retire no later than September. The board currently has 5 members and 4 vacancies. I'm Trey Westerberg with the SportsGrid News Flash.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like to take on your workday with Cintas. They make sure your AEDs are up to date, your fire extinguishers are tested and inspected, your floor mats are cleaned and delivered, and your workwear looks good, feels good, and is freshly laundered with the Cintas Apparel Plus program. So are you ready to take on today? Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Okay, raise your hand if you want to make your life a little bit easier. Great. Now raise your other hand if you like to be comfortable. Perfect. Now that you have both hands raised, imagine putting on your shoes. And that, folks, right there is your answer to an easier, more comfortable life. Go hands-free with Skechers Slip-ins. This is footwear you don't need your hands to put on. They can be raised in the air, and you can just step it and go. Why don't you experience what people can't stop talking about? Life-changing Skechers Slip-ins. Get your Slip-ins at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
There's something you should know and always remember.
SportsGrid does not increase luck.
We're your unfair advantage for the latest sports gaming information. If you're looking for luck,
go find a horseshoe.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Scott Wetzel.
Back on Football Full Circle, Lisi and Wetzel breaking down the NFL. Some other news came out with the New York Giants. Brian Daboll, their head coach, came out and said, Scott, at yesterday's press conference that potentially Travis Hunter could be an option at number 3 for the New York Giants. And you and I had talked about it the other day that, by them taking Jameis Winston and signing him and then obviously bringing over Russell Wilson, the fact that they could potentially maybe draft Shedeur Sanders as opposed to another situational or, positional type of need, at that point, it makes obviously no sense, right? Because you have 2 veterans on the roster. If it was one, I understand that. But you signed two guys that potentially could start for your team, and then you're going to pick Shedeur Sanders. Makes absolutely no sense because Shedeur should be the starter from week number 1 or at least in the month of September. The fact that he says Hunter could be an option really, again, shows the lack of, vision for this organization. Because if it was me, knowing the first two moves that they made with the quarterback position, to me, Travis Hunter's a no-brainer. You pair him potentially with Malik Neighbors in terms of situations for your quarterback, and you might have two elite wide receivers heading into 2025.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they can't be that stupid, right, Joe, to say what they really are thinking. I mean, if you're sitting in the number 1 spot, yeah, you can say whatever you want because you control your own destiny, but you don't control your own destiny sitting at number 3. So, I mean, the only reason why I would think they would say something like that is because they want other teams to know, hey, we may take this guy. So if you really want this guy, you got to come to us because we're really considering it versus a quarterback or somebody else. So I don't think for a second they would take Travis Hunter. I really don't. And I still disagree. I think if Sanders is there, that's the way to go. I mean, what would it take, Joe, for Daboll in particular, maybe not the GM, Shane, but with Daboll in particular, but Shane's under a lot of pressure too, to be able to have their jobs next year if you're going in there with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston as your starting quarterback? Is 9-8 really realistically going to keep their jobs? I don't think so.
It depends.
Not if you don't have a future
Scott.
quarterback on your roster. But if you have a future quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, on your roster, then you get to keep your job. I think it would be, to me, very surprising and very wrong for them not to take Sanders if he's there.
But then I agree with that, right? I do agree with that, saying that, if you're talking long-term success for the New York Giants, the best option for them would be to sign Jameis Winston and then not sign Russell Wilson. You go in with Winston and Tommy DeVito, and then you draft Shedeur Sanders. And then you give maybe Winston a few games in the month of September. And if Shedeur is not ready, start him first game, week number 1 of October. And then you give him a good 13 to 14 weeks of development. And then you could sell that to the organization moving forward, depending upon how Shedeur performs in that offense. But they didn't do that, Scott. They signed not one, they signed 2. They have 3 quarterbacks already on the roster, and then they're going to add a 4th to potentially do what? Now have a quarterback controversy? You know that Russell Wilson, Jameis is a different animal. He's more of a team player, but Russell Wilson came over to be the starter and to be potentially the face of the organization for the whole season. This was the team, if you think back 3 years ago, when Pete Carroll and Seattle were totally, at a standstill with Russell Wilson. Him and his wife wanted to go to New York. It just didn't work out then. So if they wanted to do that 3 years ago, and now they're here, and he knows it's a multimedia market, biggest media market outside of California, he could do something potentially Aaron Rodgers didn't do, win over the media and maybe, over exceed expectations and get this team to a playoff. He's going to do it. He's not going to help cultivate and mentor Shedeur Sanders at this point. He didn't do it with Justin Fields. He's going to do it with Shedeur's, Scotty?
No, probably not, right? Probably not. But it's a series of precautionary moves by the Giants, which will explain why at the end of the year, both Daboll and Shane probably will be fired, right? I don't think they wanted Jameis Winston. We talked about this a little bit. I think their main goal was they wanted Russell. But Russell was waiting on Pittsburgh. He was waiting on Minnesota. He was waiting on this team and that team. And I think the Giants finally said, well, we can't wait because if we don't get him, we're going to have, Tommy Cutlets as our starting quarterback. So let's go get Jameis Winston, even though we really don't want him. All right, then Russell Wilson falls in their lap. And now they're saying, well, do we really need 2 quarterbacks? No. And this kind of eliminates the need to draft a quarterback, but we really want to keep our jobs. So we can't count on Shedeur Sanders being there. Well, what if Sanders isn't there at 3? I'm sure they've gone to Cleveland and asked the asking price for the 2nd overall pick. And I'm sure the Browns said, give me 3 or 4 first-round draft choices. And the Giants know they're not going to move up. So they can't take a chance that Sanders is there. So they got to sign Russell Wilson. But it's all about a precautionary Every move is done because they really want to do something else, but they don't want to get stuck, holding the basket with no eggs in the basket. So if he's there, I'm taking him if I'm the Giant. And if I got 4 quarterbacks, you know what? Trade Russell or trade Jameis Winston maybe. Maybe you get something for him.
Yeah, but I understand that. But, Scott, to think about it, right? Just hearing you play out that situation, it just shows, if that's the case, that they, again, don't have a clear plan. And I know we're talking about, quarterback, but if you do take Travis Hunter, you have the best lockdown corner in potentially the draft, number one. Number two, if you're going to compete from a defensive perspective up against the likes of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Philadelphia, and CeeDee Lamb with Dallas and Terry McLaurin with Washington, you need a legitimate playmaker on the defensive side of the ball that could take away at least a third of the field. Travis Hunter gives you that ability. And oh, by the way, he might be utilized on 15, passing plays or offensive plays where paired with Malik Neighbors, now you have something for your team. So you're getting a bang for your buck at number 3, as opposed to now, hoping that Shedeur Sanders is the savior.
Yeah, I just don't think an agent is going to allow him to play both ways, Joe. I just don't. He's only going to get paid one salary, and he's not going to be benefiting. He's locked into that salary first 4 or 5 years, right? First year draft choice will be 5 years. That all sounds good, but I think that agent will get in his ear and say, nope, not happening.
We'll come back. AFC odds up next on Football Full Circle.
There's smart
and there's not smart.
Not smart is hope as a strategy. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Keep it here
and win. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. The SportsGrid Radio Network presents This Date in Sports History.
1963, the Mets buy outfielder Duke Snider from the LA Dodgers for $40,000. Snyder had start for the Dodgers from 1947 through 1957, winning a championship in 1955. Unfortunately, the Mets lost 111 games that season under legendary manager Casey Stengel.
Are amazing, 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 amazing.
For SportsGrid Radio, I'm Mike DeMurgis.
The Technology Minute with George Capalbo.
Winter's over, spring is here, and baseball is back! Spring training this year, 19 MLB teams are replacing...
Ball 4, take your base.
With high-speed camera algorithmic robot umpires used in professional tennis challenges for years. You cannot be serious! Tested in minor league baseball without much controversy other than tuning the strike zone. Just testing for now, but maybe next season we'll find out if tradition in baseball gets to meet the 21st century. Follow me at Capalbo on X, and stay tuned to The Technology Minute for more cool stuff like this. Play ball.
Carver and Lisi.
By the way, great intro song, Matthias. I like that. That's going to be the new intro on Wednesdays with Carver and sometimes Lisi. Hey, look at this. I'm in the credits tonight. I made it to the big time. Look at this.
We had a discussion about this last night.
I was watching. I got a lot of things going on, Joe. Got a lot of things going on.
I don't understand what you're upset about. You're not on the show that night.
It's Carver and Lisi with Mike Carver and Joe Lisi. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific. On the SportsGrid Radio Network. Wherever you go,
there you are.
Download the SportsGrid mobile app and we'll be right there with you.
So now you can get the winning edge anywhere.
Even while the wife's talking to you.
If you've got an earbud.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Scott Wetzel.
All right, continuing the conversation, we mentioned that we were going to talk about some AFC odds, and this goes into what Scott and I were talking about in the break. Cleveland Browns owner Jimmy Haslam came out and he actually admitted a mistake, said that they took a big swing on Deshaun Watson and missed. Oh, really, Jimmy? You think so? 281 guaranteed money that they're going to have to dig themselves out of it. Well, Scott, win total this year for the Cleveland Browns re-signing Myles Garrett to a huge deal is over 5.5 wins at plus 105. You taking that bet? this year with Jimmy Haslam coming out and admitting the mistake with Deshaun Watson?
I don't know how you could, right? They don't have a running back. They don't have a wide receiver. They don't have a quarterback. I mean, unless you really think Kenny Pickett's the answer. And I don't. I mean, how are they getting to 6 wins, especially in that division, which, eventually Pittsburgh will figure out its quarterback situation. I mean, those are 6, losable games. I love the quote yesterday, Joe. I really do. He said, we took a big swing and miss with Deshaun. We thought we had the quarterback. We didn't. We gave up a lot of draft picks to get him. We dug ourselves a deep hole that we got to dig out of. Here's my favorite one. It's an entire organizational decision. It ends with D and I, so hold us accountable. He's throwing his wife under the bus. I mean, how funny is that? Poor guy. He can't even. He's trying to make okay, blame me, but then he's got to throw his poor wife under the bus. Who D? That's his wife. I mean. This guy's a crumb. He's got his off-the-field issues. If you Google him, he certainly does, right? But now yesterday he's throwing his poor wife under the bus. Don't blame me. Blame the wife. She's the one that likes Deshaun Watson.
Who else is he going to blame? I mean, really. I mean, and here's what I love is that 3 years later he's coming out and saying this, right?
He's not a roster, though. This is not like a guy that they cut and got rid of, by the way. They still owe him some $90 million. He's not going anywhere. And you're basically throwing him under the bus.
Yeah, I told you, Scott, ever since Deshaun Watson got the money, you look at his Instagram, he's in Italy almost every other week with his now fiance, sipping wine, meatballs, this and that. That's all well and good. But I could see if the guy has a 300-yard game under his belt in a Cleveland Browns uniform. Not one 300-yard game in a Cleveland Browns uniform. I believe Joe Flacco had 3 or 4. Jameis Winston had at least 2 or 3, and you're telling me Deshaun Watson that had multiple 300-yard games with the Houston Texans couldn't give you 1 in 2.5 years as a starting quarterback. Unbelievable if you think about it. 5.5 though, Scott. Plus 105 to the over. What do you think they do in the division? They beat the Steelers last year with Jameis.
They did.
Remember? They did. Can they beat Cincy, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh at least once?
No. I think best case scenario is 2 and 4. Maybe you beat the Bengals just because it's this, in-state rivalry. Maybe you squeeze one out of Pittsburgh. They don't. I don't think they're going to beat Baltimore this year. I don't. So I would say best case scenario 2.
2,
and more than likely 1.
Okay, so if they win, you think more than likely 1. You never know because the Steelers right now, if you think about the Steelers overall, if they're going with Mason Rudolph, I give Kenny Pickett as good of a shot with Mason Rudolph squaring off. You look at their schedule this year, Scott. So if they're going to win 2, right? We need 4 other wins out of these teams. Bears?
No.
Buffalo?
No.
Miami?
No.
Green Bay?
No.
Minnesota?
No.
Tennessee?
Maybe.
Okay, there's 3. San Fran?
No.
Detroit?
No.
Las Vegas?
Maybe.
All right. New England?
Maybe.
And the Jets?
Maybe.
You think the Jets are going to suck. You said it. You know you hate Justin Fields as much as I hate other quarterbacks than Aaron Rodgers. You know that.
Yeah.
So there's the potential, Scott. You should be making that bet. Plus 105 to the over. That should be a Scott Wetzel.
That's them having to win all those winnable games. Just because they're winnable doesn't mean they're going to win. It just means they're not an automatic law. You're not going to beat Detroit. You're not beating San Fran, some of the others, right? So they would have to go 4-0 in all those 4 winnable games.
It's possible. You never know. We'll come back. We'll talk about some other teams in the NFC win totals right here on Football Full Circle. Keep it where it is.
The Winning Edge.
You've got it.
But not everybody has it, because not everybody listens to us.
But we're working on that.
This is the Sports Grid Radio Network.
Progressive presents the Sports Grid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders. The Red Sox have come to a contract extension with left-hander Garrett Crochet. It's a $170 million deal that starts in 2026 with an opt-out after 2030. Atlanta Braves outfielder Jurickson Profar has been suspended for 80 games following a positive test for a banned substance. He's eligible to return to the team on June the 29th, but as part of the suspension, he'll be ineligible for the 2025 postseason if the Braves make it. The NCAA Women's Basketball Final Four is set. This Friday night, it'll be Texas battling South Carolina. The two teams finished atop the SEC at 15-1. The other game has UCLA battling UConn. Last night, Texas advanced with a 58-47 win over TCU, while UConn got past USC 78-64. Bundle auto and home, renters, or condo and save with Progressive. That's the Sports Grid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
This is the sale you've been waiting for. The Macy's Spring VIP sale is here. Exclusive savings on the season's most loved brands with an extra 30% off Avec Les Filles, Karl Lagerfeld, DKNY, and more. Plus, get 15% off beauty essentials from MAC, Armani Beauty, and too many others to mention. So get to the Macy's Spring VIP sale now and shop brands you love at prices you'll love even more. Savings off regular and already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
Spring forward with real unlimited data from Straight Talk this tax season and get a free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G or Moto G Power 5G 2024 with select plans. So you can stream games during Mad March hours, check the weather for April showers, and watch gardening videos about May flowers. Straight Talk, real unlimited data. Available at Walmart and straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 4/15/25. Taxes and fees apply. Requires purchase of single line gold unlimited plan or higher. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com.
You're listening to Sports Grid.
Spreading the winning edge far and wide.
Terrestrial, internet, TV, satellite, and don't forget our mobile app.
Face it.
The Winning Edge is everywhere.
Somewhere there's a squirrel frustrated he can't get a phone.
This is the Sports Grid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Scott Wetzel.
All right, back on Football Full Circle. We left off talking about the Cleveland Browns and their 5.5 win total. I actually think they could potentially get there. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, even if it is Kenny Pickett at the helm. Scott is a little bit more skeptical on that situation. Let's throw an NFC team in there. Let's throw the New Orleans Saints, which I do find intriguing because they have a multitude of needs offensively and defensively. I understand they're in a winnable division for the most part, obviously with Carolina, Tampa Bay, and Atlanta, Scotty. 6.5, though, is the win total for the New Orleans Saints with their new head coach, Kellen Moore. Minus 110 either way. Assuming that it is Derek Carr, though, still. I mean, there's huge needs, and that defense is not that good. 6.5, I don't think they get there. I don't this year. Do you?
7-10, though? You know, I'm not the biggest Kellen Moore fan. I'm not. But anything is better than what they had last year. They were atrocious. I'm a little surprised they brought what's-his-face back. Derek Carr. I mean, yeah. Maybe it's just because there were no other options. But, you know, what has he really done down in New Orleans that makes you think that he would get the benefit of the doubt of having another year to be a starting quarterback and be successful? 7 wins, though, Josh. 7-10. They're going to go 6-11. I don't know if they're that bad. All 6 of those games in the division, all winnable. Not saying they will, but you don't have a situation where, okay, we're not going to beat Detroit or we're not going to beat Green Bay. You know, they're all winnable games for them. So that's possibly 6. Maybe you get 3 out of those. You only need 4 more.
Let's go through it. Let's go through it. You ready?
Go ahead.
Buffalo?
No.
Chicago?
Okay, yes.
Rams?
No, probably not.
Dolphins?
No.
Tampa, Arizona?
Yes.
San Fran?
I don't know what we're getting out of San Fran. I'll say no, but Tentative no.
Jets, Giants, Seattle.
Yes.
I mean, New England.
Yes.
I mean,
6.
yeah, but who are they
That's what
throwing the
you said, right?
football to, Scotty? Who's he throwing the football to? Jawan Johnson? I mean,
Who's
Chris Olave.
throwing the football to with the Browns?
Well, Jerry Judy is there. The Joker is
they got
there.
Alvin Kamara. Browns don't even have that.
Yeah, but they got Jerome Ford.
Better at 6.5 than the Browns are at 5.5.
I like the Browns better. I have to be. I don't like Derek Carr.
I got an easier division. I got a better quarterback. I have more
You like
weapons.
Derek Carr.
I got
You bet his total every year. Just admit it.
I know they have, but not this.
See?
Not 6.5. Who's got the extra home game this year? AFC or NFC? I forget.
I think it's the
AFC.
I think it is the AFC. I want to see the New Orleans depth chart right now heading into this draft because they're going to need some wide receiver help. So I'm curious to see what they have right now heading into the draft. Wide receivers. You ready? Here we go. Rashad Shaheed, Chris Olave. You're lucky if you get Olave for 5 games, right? Let's be honest. Guy can't stay on the field. Bud Means, Kevin Austin, Dante Pettis, Mason Tipton. Wasn't Mason Tipton and my cousin Vinny? Tipton wasn't wasn't the guy Tipton? Wasn't Tipton the guy in my cousin Vinny? Foster Moreau, Jawan Johnson, and oh, by the way, if they keep Taysom Hill. I mean, are you kidding me? Come on. You know the wide receiver core is absolutely atrocious. You even started making faces because you know Chris Olave. All right, and Brandon Cooks comes back. Okay, I'll give you that. He's another one. You're lucky if you get 5 games out of Brandon Cooks. How many did he play with the Cowboys last year? I mean, come on.
I would say their leading wide receiver, not running back or tight end. Their leading wide receiver was Olave, 32 receptions in 8 games. The next one was Cedric Wilson, 20 receptions in 15 games. All right, so they need some wide receiver help.
You know it.
At least it's pretty obvious, right? So they go get themselves a wide receiver, and you're all set. You got a Kamara in the back.
That's it, Matthew. Your guy is Matthew Golden. That's it.
You can go 8-9 with that record or with that schedule.
You're crazy. You're crazy. All right, let's do another. This is fun. Let's do another one, okay? We'll do another NFC team. You want the Vikings or you want the Cowboys?
Give me the Cowboys. We don't know what the Vikings are doing with their quarterback situation.
7.5. Even money. Well, it's minus 110 either way. Ready?
All right. I like the over. So
I know you and everybody else. You might as well buy that ticket now. 50-1. That's it.
Now, I'm a Schottenheimer guy.
No, you're not. You're just hoping. Ready? Dallas Cowboys schedule. List of opponents revealed. Here we go. You ready? Forget the NFC East. Okay. Packers.
No.
Chiefs.
No.
These are the home games, too. Chargers.
Home at home, maybe.
Vikings.
Maybe.
No. Cardinals.
Yes.
All right, ready for the away?
Right.
Bears.
Maybe.
Broncos.
Probably not.
Lions.
No.
Raiders.
Maybe.
Jets.
Definitely.
Panthers. I think you're right at 7 if the maybes turn into wins.
Right. That's 7. That's 7, not counting the NFC East. You got 2 against the Giants.
Yeah.
Right? And then, you get at least 1 out of 2 versus Philly, 2 versus Washington.
You're not
You're
beating
at
Philly. You're
9
not
wins.
beating Philly. No shot to beat the Eagles. So you might get one over the Commanders like you did last year, where they were 10.5-point dogs and they won outright with Cooper Rush. And they played them tough with Mariota in that game where they scored on the last play, even though they lost. So maybe you're not beating the Chiefs, even though the game's at home. You're not beating the Packers. I'm sorry. They might be under 500 again, Scotty, at home. When you think about their games, Giants, Eagles, these are the home games. Giants, Eagles, Commanders, Packers, Chiefs, Chargers, Vikings, Cards. That is not easy. That is not easy. They might be
Giants, right?
6.
That might be the only one. Maybe Minnesota if it's J.J. McCarthy.
Maybe. That is it. You're talking about that is a tough road when you think about Schottenheimer having to win games and be dead man walking before the season starts. And you just think about it. I mean, I'm selling them. I know people are, expecting the bounce back for that. The AFC does have the extra game, by the way, because Cowboys have an extra road game. So, again, you want to buy into Dak now? Did you buy into Dak Prescott with the workout? Did you see it?
What do you mean?
Looking as fit as ever. He's breaking out for 5,000 yards and 46 touchdowns.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. But he is a regular season quarterback. So you can buy into Dallas regular season. You can't buy into Dallas postseason. That's the issue.
Let's see. 50-1 odds. Take it now. We'll come back with more NFL talk on Football Full Circle.
Saying every SportsGrid listener is a legend, but you might start thinking about who's going to play you in the movie. Just saying. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
With the SportsGrid News Flash, I'm Trey Westerberg. The nation's largest public utility promoted one of its top executives to CEO, putting Don Moll in charge of the Tennessee Valley Authority. The utility announced that its board picked Moll as the president and chief executive to replace Jeff Lyash, who said in January that he would retire no later than September. The board currently has 5 members and 4 vacancies. 20 staffers at a suburban Philadelphia charter school are facing charges related to the alleged physical abuse of students using painful, unapproved techniques to restrain and punish youths in a program meant to help them deal with emotional issues. Delaware County District Attorney Jack Stolzheimer said the counts involve acts against 26 children in kindergarten through 5th grade at the Chester Community Charter School. Those charged are accused of physically abusing the students or failing to report suspected abuse. I'm Trey Westerberg with the SportsGrid News Flash.
Listen up, fellow Gen Xers. Elizabeth Banks here. The recommended age for pneumococcal pneumonia vaccination has been lowered to 50 and older, even if you're healthy. It's up to us to lead the way. We've done this before. Music videos, fanny packs, even the World Wide Web. Let's do it again and get vaccinated, because we're at over 6 times greater risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Gen X, this is our shot. Visit VaxAssist.com and schedule a vaccine today. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Are you a small business owner who needs immediate cash flow? At Swish Funding, we have flexible funding options from $25,000 to $2 million. For the best rates and terms for your business, just one application to Swish Funding gives you access to our entire network of funders, with cash in your account in as little as 24 hours. To qualify, you must be in business for at least 1 year with monthly revenue of $50,000. Apply at swishradio.com and use code RADIO. swishradio.com, code RADIO.
Ask any player and they'll tell you any advantage is important.
That's where we come in.
SportsGrid delivers gaming strategies and analysis 7 days a week.
The winning edge.
It's your advantage to more winning
more often.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Scott Wetzel.
All right, breaking down 2025 season win totals, AFC and NFC. We left off talking about the Dallas Cowboys and New Orleans Saints. We'll hit on some AFC teams before the show is over. But one more NFC team, Scotty, Carolina, with the emergence of Bryce Young and that team in the second half of the season, they went toe-to-toe with the Kansas City Chiefs, went toe-to-toe with the Super Bowl champs in the Philadelphia Eagles, almost won that game 6.5, Scotty. Win total with Dave Canales and Bryce Young, year number 2 with Canales, 6.5. Remember, last year was 5.5, not asking for all that much more. Minus 120 to the over. Initial thoughts. You think they can be better? Can they be an 8-9 football team this year?
I think they can. And that division, again, all the games are winnable. Although Tampa Bay's, probably a lot better than Carolina. But still, you're not an automatic loss there. So you get 2, maybe 3 wins out of your division. If you think they're going to take that next step, and then you look for 4 more or so outside the division, 1 less home game. But still, they did show some promise. I still didn't like Bryce Young as far as, the faults that I had with him are still there. He's small. It's as simple as that. The guy's 5'0", 150 pounds. First name might as well be Rudy, for goodness sakes. So I think there's going to be a limit to how successful he can be. But is he a 7-10 win team this year, quarterback? Yeah, from what we saw over the last 4 or 5 weeks, they're going to look bad and get blown out in some games, Joe. But I think for the most part, the progress he made last year will continue, and they'll be a halfway decent team this season. So 7 wins, I like that more than the Saints, I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
and I'll
tell you, I do as well. I think if you think about it, they went toe-to-toe with the 2 Super Bowl champions, AFC champion in Kansas City. They covered as a 13.5-point favorite and should have covered as a 13.5-point underdog with the Philadelphia Eagles. If Leggett catches that football, potentially they win that matchup outright. So here's the home games. Forget the division. We know potentially the games that they have to win, Atlanta, New Orleans, and Tampa Bay. Outside of that at home, Scotty, LA Rams and Matt Stafford, yes or no?
No, too much offense.
Seattle?
Yes.
They can win that game. Yep. Buffalo? No shot. No shot. Miami?
The Dolphins. They could win that one.
Dallas? You think no?
I think no, bud.
All right, ready?
Yes,
away
yes
game.
To that.
Arizona, they beat them at home last year.
Okay, that's one.
Knocked the Cards out of the playoffs. That was the game where that game went to overtime, remember? And they couldn't score. Right. So, San Fran.
Not on the road, no.
New England?
Yeah, maybe.
Jets?
Yeah.
Green Bay?
No.
Jacksonville?
Yeah, maybe.
So
that's 6.
If you think, and if you think they could go 3-3 in the division or 2-4 at worst, you're on par for the 6.5, right? There's 5-6 winnable games. It's not going to be easy, obviously. You're going to have to, be at least 500 in the division to pick that up. But that being aside, I still think it's a good bet. Let's talk about Jacksonville. What do you think about Let's switch because they're intriguing to me. 7.5 is the win total, Scotty. Minus 125 to the over. A lot of uncertainty now. No Evan Ingram, no Christian Kirk. You got Tank Bigsby, you got Travis Etienne, Trevor Lawrence coming back, right? Brian Thomas Jr., potentially an all-world type of player, almost like Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. Can Liam Cohen take this team to 8 wins in year 1?
And new head coach. You said it, Cohen. I don't think so. I don't know why they didn't bring back Ingram. He was terrific for them.
I like Ingram. They released him. Now we'll see what happens. But I agree. When he's healthy, didn't do anything in New York. He was cinder block hands. But once he went to Jacksonville, he became a star. Like he played back in Ole Miss in Oxford.
There you go. How about that? Yeah, I never understood that. Another failed first round tight end draft choice that just 9 times out of 10 are a complete waste. I'll go under.
You're going to go under. Let's look at the schedule.
They won 1 or 2 games over in Europe, so they don't have the extra home game. Yeah, 7 and 10 is more likely versus 8 and 9.
You think so, huh? 7 and 10.
I'm not a big Trevor Lawrence guy.
All right, here we go. I'm not. Again, Trevor Lawrence. At times, I think he's checked out, but we'll see. You ready? Home opponents outside the division. It's Chargers.
No.
Chiefs.
No.
Rams.
I'll give them the Rams. I got to give one out of those three.
Seattle.
Possibly, yep.
The Jets.
Yep.
That's crazy. They played the Jets last year, too, at home. They get them again, huh? Carolina.
Yep.
All right. Road. Arizona.
Yeah.
Denver.
No.
Raiders.
Yeah.
49ers and Bengals.
No and no.
So you're
That's
looking
sick.
under then. Take the bet right now, Scott. Right now.
Yeah.
Plus 105 to the under. Book it in. You're going to make yourself a millionaire. You like those big tickets. Parlay New Orleans, Carolina, and the under.
You got 3 winnable games, Houston, Indy, and Tennessee. So now you're at 8 or 9. But again, you got to win all those winnable games, which these teams aren't going to do. Chances are you split them. In order for them to get 8, they would have to knock someone off they're really not supposed to. Whether
Kansas
it's
City,
San Fran or whoever it may be.
But I will say, those games in Jacksonville, Scott, sometimes teams go there and die for some reason.
Right.
Whatever it is, teams go to Duval County and they go down like a dart. So there's always that potential playing at home. When we come back, we'll wrap it up. We'll talk maybe some specials up on FanDuel right here on Football Full Circle.
Luck is winning the lottery. Strategy is settling your divorce before cashing in the ticket. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. SportsGrid TV and radio networks are the premier streaming video and audio channel dedicated to serving the sports wagering audience. Found on major smart TV platforms and streaming on SportsGrid Radio and SiriusXM Channel 159. SportsGrid's real-time data, expert commentary, and entertaining analysis transform viewers into informed sports enthusiasts. Our weekday radio lineup begins with the early line at 8 a.m. Eastern with Ben Stevens and Donnie Rightside. Donnie joins Kevin Walsh on Money Line at 11 a.m. Eastern, followed by Football Full Circle at noon Eastern. Kaplan and crew join the party at 1 p.m. Eastern, and Pharrell Coast to Coast keeps things rolling from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Get in the mix with Kevin Walsh and Game Time Decisions at 6 p.m. Eastern. Evenings simmer with Carver and Lisi, then boils over with Gabe Moritzi on Sports Rage Late Night at 10 p.m. Eastern. To find out where to find SportsGrid that's best for you, go to sportsgrid.com. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Imagine combining the exciting investment opportunity of cryptocurrencies with the power of artificial intelligence to maximize your IRA, 401k, or other investment funds. Listen, if you're looking for ways to accelerate your retirement growth, Block Trust IRA has market-leading strategies and solutions for all levels of investors, from $1,000 to millions. And they partner with Bitcoin Magazine's #1 crypto trading fund in the world to maximize your returns. Plus, their team of IRA specialists is here to help you roll over your IRA or qualified retirement account to the new world of cryptocurrency investments. So make this free call right now to set up your account and learn more.
800-434-5313. 800-434-5313. 800-434-5313. That's 800-434-5313.
Think of us as your cool roommate that has this innate gift of somehow always picking winners and never bugs you about doing the dishes or paying rent. Sports gaming strategies and information 24/7. Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
You're listening to Football Full Circle with Joe Lisi and Scott Wetzel.
All right, wrapping up the show here. We were going to talk some specials, but they're not available, obviously, in every market. So we'll turn our attention to the awards section. We'll try and touch on some offensive ones if we can get there. But I did notice some value potentially in the defensive market, Scott. Myles Garrett, obviously the number one choice at 7-1, followed by Micah Parsons plus 750 and Aiden Hutchinson coming off the injury 9-1. And then TJ Watt is there as well. But I found some interesting value. Get your take on it. Will Anderson, defensive edge rusher for Houston, had a dynamic year, pushed Houston back to the playoffs 12-1. And Jared Verse for the LA Rams 20-1. And we know it's a subjective type of award, right? But we believe both of those teams are going to be playoff potentially worthy, right? Are they going to, potentially give it to Myles Garrett with his team under 500 again? Is that possible? I don't know. I would take a shot on Will Anderson and Jared Verse 12-1 and 20-1 respectively.
Yeah, I like the Anderson one especially. You're right about Myles Garrett. He got his money. Who's to say he'll even have the incentive anymore, especially if the Browns are stinking out the joint? He had it last year because he wanted a new contract, but he's got his new contract now. Allie may just say, when the Browns are 3-10, that's it. I'm calling off the dogs. I don't want to get hurt. Blah, 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 blah. So I'd stay away from him. I would. Anderson would be the one. I think the Texans are ready to make that next step. They'll be in a lot of nationally televised games. They're probably going to win their division, so they'll give his credence to a little bit more of the numbers he puts up. At double-digit odds, he would be the one for me.
Now, two other guys. Max Crosby got his money as well. He's 10-1. Jalen Carter, though, 40-1. I mean, and I understand interior line. I mean, doesn't get the hype that the edge rushers get, Micah and Myles, and we named Will Anderson and Jared Verse. But he is the main cog of that defense, right? If they're going to make another playoff push, 40-1 for Jalen Carter?
It's not bad. A lot of focus on him, a lot of focus on that team now, obviously. He would have to get, 10 sacks? He's got to produce some numbers, Joe. Now, he just can't be, I'm going to sit there and be a fat person and take up two guys.
No, but if he had, a huge amount of tackles for losses and, strip sacks and quarterback pressures and sacks, and you take it over and he is the guy always around the football, shutting it down, and they have the number one, let's say, rush defense in the NFL, 40-1. All you want to do in terms of these awards is you want to have a shot. Right? We know it's subjective. It could go either way. It's same thing with baseball, but you want to be, top three by the end of the regular season. They take off from where they start to where they left off with the Super Bowl, and Philly's 10-0. He's going to be getting notoriety. It's not going to be at 40-1 anymore.
There's got to be a storyline, just to give you that little extra attention or whatever the case may be, right? Repeating back-to-back, would that be enough? Are the Eagles going to have the incentive? We've seen how many teams have gone back-to-back, right? Not many. It's difficult to do. But at 40-1, they got to find someone that's going to step up and be like the man, the face of the franchise on that Eagle defense.
You're right. We talked about passing props, and we thought Pat Mahomes was a little off, right, in terms of the market. He's minus 115 to throw for 4,000 yards. He is the front runner. Didn't get there last year. We talked about Rashee Rice coming back, Xavier Worthy, obviously an added addition at the end of the regular season. Just close your eyes and makeable bet right now in the offseason in March, or you think it goes potentially to even money?
No, I would do it now. I wouldn't worry about the little vig there. Joe, he's thrown for 5,000, 4,000, 4,700, 4,800, 5,200, 4,100, close to 4,200, and then just under. He came 72 yards shy last year, and everything went wrong last year. Breaking in a rookie wide receiver and Worthy. Obviously, Kelsey not being Travis Kelsey anymore, no Rashee Rice, and he still threw for close to 4,000 yards. Now you're in a division where Denver's going to be good, the Chargers are going to be good. I would be really surprised if he didn't throw for 4,000. I love that bet. I really do.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll talk about it throughout the week on Football Full Circle. For our great producer, Danny Ohlers and Scott Wetzel, I'm Joe Lisi. We'll see you tomorrow Have a great day, everyone.
Now you've done it.
You found the advantage for gaming, odds, and more. But we call it